Staring at my phone, I reread the message from my son. Mom, just for your information, Jessica's family Christmas got cancelled. So we're bringing them all to ours. About 25 people. It'll be chaotic but fun. Start prepping. Love you. Prep. That single word sat heavy in my chest. They didn't ask. They informed me. 25 people. An army of uninvited guests. All marching straight into my home. I let out a small, dark chuckle in the quiet living room. So I prepped. Just not in the way they expected. I didn't cancel Christmas. I simply relocated it. 2,437 miles away. And while they stood on my snow-dusted porch, staring at a locked door in confusion, I was sipping a piña colada, watching the sun melt into the ocean. This is the story of the year I took back my peace, my home, and my holiday. My name is Eleanor. I'm 58 years old, and I've been a widow for 5 years. My husband Tom was Christmas personified. Lights everywhere, music from morning till night, loud laughter, crowded rooms, and chaotic love. When he passed, the house didn't just get quieter. Felt hollow, cavernous. For a while, I tried to keep the traditions alive for my son, Mark, but it was never the same. The joy felt borrowed, forced. Eventually, my heart just wasn't in it anymore. Then Mark met Jessica. Jessica was a force of nature. Loud, confident, always taking up space. Her family was tightly woven, so enmeshed they barely functioned as individuals. From the beginning, I wasn't really part of the picture. I was a background prop. The husband's mother. Our relationship existed only through Mark, who, when it came to his wife, had the spine of overcooked spaghetti. The pattern was set early. The first Thanksgiving after their wedding, Jessica's family popped by. All 15 of them. Cooked for 3 straight days. They arrived early, criticized my traditional menu for being too bland and not accommodating enough dietary preferences, drank all the good wine, and left my kitchen looking like a disaster zone. No thank you. No help cleaning. Jessica just smiled at me and said, "Family doesn't stand on ceremony, right, Ellie?" It wasn't family. It was an occupation. Mark wouldn't meet my eyes. He shrugged and said, "That's just how they are, Mom. Don't take it personally." But it was personal. My home, my labor, my sanctuary were being used without permission. That's why the Christmas text hit the way it did. My fingers felt cold around my phone. My heartbeat thudded slowly in my ears. Start prepping. It wasn't a request. It was a command. Food, beds, planning, cleanup, hosting strangers for days on end. I wasn't a mother. I was infrastructure. I called Mark and kept my voice calm. To come. I told him this was a huge undertaking and we needed to discuss it. I heard Jessica in the background before he came back on the line, forcing cheer into his voice. He said her parents' house had burst pipes, that they couldn't leave everyone homeless for Christmas, that I had the space. The space. As if I were an empty lot. I asked who would pay for the food, who would cook, who would clean. There was a pause before he said, "We'll all chip in," and the lie was so obvious it almost hurt. Then he said they'd already told everyone it was happening, that they'd be there on the 23rd to help set up, and before I could say another word, he hung up. I sat alone in my living room. The Christmas tree Tom and I had bought before he died twinkled softly in the corner, and something shifted inside me. It wasn't anger anymore. It was colder than that. Final. The last pillar of obligation cracked. The next day, I was added to a group chat titled, "Jessica's Family Christmas." No one asked if that was okay. Messages poured in. Someone announcing allergies. Someone demanding a big TV. Jessica's mother suggesting my guest rooms needed fresh flowers and that I'd need extra refrigerators for drinks. Each notification felt like a hammer striking stone. They talked about my home like it was a rental property. Assigning tasks. Issuing demands. Mark stayed silent. Then I saw the message that changed everything. Jessica announced her mother would make lobster bisque, but they needed a commercial-sized stockpot. If I didn't have one, I should order it and send Mark the link so he could approve it. Prove it. In my own kitchen. That was the moment a plan formed, sharp and clear. I smiled for the first time in days. Fine. If they wanted a commercial operation, I would give them one. I became perfectly agreeable. I responded cheerfully. Took notes. I asked about preferences and arrival times. I let them believe everything was handled. Their confidence grew. Their expectations soared. At the same time, I quietly called a travel agent and booked myself 2 weeks at a warm, all-inclusive beach resort in Costa Rica, leaving on December 22nd. For one, I rented a small storage unit and carefully packed away everything precious. Photos, jewelry, watches, heirlooms. Anything I couldn't bear to see damaged or disrespected. Then I had the locks changed. With so many strangers coming and going, security just made sense. The final touch was a sign. Elegant, professional, official looking. On the morning of December 22nd, I packed my suitcase and walked through my house one last time. It looked clean and empty like a stage set. The fridge held only a bottle of champagne. I placed the sign face down on the kitchen counter, took a photo of my packed suitcase by the door with my flight tickets visible, and sent it to the group chat with a cheerful message about final prep and excitement. They responded with emojis and thumbs up. Completely fooled. I turned on the porch light, wheeled my suitcase to the waiting taxi, and didn't look back. When the plane lifted into the winter sky, a weight slid off my shoulders. Years of shoulds disappeared. I should host. I should endure. I should stay quiet. Not anymore. The next afternoon my phone started ringing. Over and over. I was sitting on a sunlit terrace, ocean stretching endlessly in front of me, drink in hand. I let it go to voicemail. Mark's messages escalated from confused to panicked. The group chat exploded. Kids were cold. Doors were locked. No one knew what was happening. After letting the chaos simmer, I sent one calm message explaining that the arrival day must have been mixed up, that for security reasons the locks had been changed, and that the property manager's contact information was on the sign at the door. I wished them a wonderful Christmas and mentioned my signal might be spotty. The sign, taped neatly to my front door, laid out my rules. Security deposits, nightly room fees, daily facility charges, kitchen use restrictions, quiet hours, check-in and check-out times. I had turned my home into a hotel. The calls that followed were explosive. Mark screamed. Jessica shrieked. I stayed calm and told them everything they needed to know was on the sign. They had said everyone would chip in after all. Then I wished them a Merry Christmas and put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Later I learned how it all fell apart. The property manager stood firm. No payment, no entry. Arguments erupted in my driveway. Cars drove off in fury. They scattered across overpriced hotels in different towns. Their perfect family Christmas dissolved into stress and resentment. The lobster bisque was never made. Mark and Jessica ended up in a budget hotel, eating a microwaved turkey dinner in a room that smelled like stale cigarettes. On Christmas morning I walked barefoot along an empty beach. I talked with people who truly loved me. I ate fresh fruit, napped in a hammock, read an entire novel and thought about Tom. I knew he would have loved this. He would have packed my suitcase himself. It was the most peaceful Christmas I'd had in years. Some people would call it petty. They'd say I should have just said no. But sometimes no isn't heard until it's written into reality. Sometimes boundaries need walls. This wasn't just about Christmas. It was about reclaiming my life. My home is not a community center. My love is not a blank check. And kindness is not an invitation to be used. The trip cost about the same as hosting 25 people for a week. The peace it bought me was priceless. Sometimes the best revenge is living well on your own terms. And remembering always that you are not a hotel. You are not a utility. You are the owner of your own life.